What's up, y'all? It's your man's Jam, back with a jam session on the JAMPOD. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the projects I'm most anticipating this year, and we're going to have a conversation around Creature Commandos. So, y'all tap in and let's nerd out together. First things first, I wanted to tap in with y'all real quick about life. Since we last chopped it up last week, since I talked to y'all last week, I started a new job. It's about 15 minutes from my house, so super convenient. Right here, just easy to get to and from home and to and from work. I re-signed my lease here in this apartment that I'm in here in Virginia, so I'll be here for another year at least. Uh, and I feel like this is a good year for me to kind of find out where I'm going next or plan out. I should say I know where I'm going next, but plan it out and how we gonna get there and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So just make that next big jump and then make that next big move. Um, I've been back in the gym. I want to say since the December, like last year, like the beginning, middle of December. So it's not really new since last week, but I'm going more consistent. Like I take only maybe I go every 3 days. So I go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, take off Thursday, and then I go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then take off Monday. You know what I'm saying? Like I switch it up, but every 3 days I go and I have a routine, which I'll share at a later time. Because right now we in bulk season, so I want to get the results before I share the plan or the program. But I'm back in the gym. And I'm also back writing articles. So I actually been writing articles for the alternate timeline. I had one that I dropped this past week, or actually this week, and I'm gonna drop one next week. And I'm gonna try to keep it consistent, just like with my episodes. I'll drop one a week of those. I'll drop one a week of articles. So I'm hyped, back writing back into my journalism and creative writing and just article bag. So we here with that. Make sure y'all take a look at the alternate timeline and tap in on most of my articles there. And then last but not least, real life stuff. So nothing too drastic, but I made a letterbox. Nothing is on it yet. I haven't watched any films or reviewed anything or anything like that, but I made a letterbox. I'm just trying to take my movie buff esque type stuff a little bit more serious and really just get into that. And I seen it was like a social media app that started to buzz a little bit. So I was like, I like movies. I want to review stuff. Why not? So I made one of those. So y'all make sure to tap in with me also on there. But that's really it. And so now I want to talk about what I'm most anticipating this year. So y'all make sure to come tap in with it. Now, there is a lot of television and movies that I am anticipating for 2025. And I didn't make a top five just because there's so much of them. What we're going to do instead is go in release or chronological order as it comes out. So let's start first with last week. I actually forgot to mention a show from my hype of 2024. And that was Dune Prophecy. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. And I just love how it expanded on the world of Dune or the lore of Dune besides from the books. So I'm looking to see if they'll bring that back or when they'll bring that back if it gets renewed for a season two. I'm assuming it will, and I'm hoping it will the way the first season ended. But we'll see. But now I also want to say between this week and last week, what actually dropped that I'm like super hyped about and I'm already watching that I was kind of anticipating for this year of 2025, and that is Solo Leveling Season 2, Arise from the Shadow, Dr. Stone's final season, Science Future, and Sakamoto Days are all out now. So I am super hyped that those are here. I am pretty much diving into them, just watching them weekly as the episodes come out. And that's where we at. That's what we kind of caught up between last week and this week for the JAMPOD. So moving along, we're gonna, like I said, dive right into this and kind of do a speed run because it's a lot of them. So on January 17th, we have, which is I want to say in a couple, a week now, like a week or two, next week. We have Severance Season 2, starring Adam Scott, Britt Lower, and John Turturro. First and foremost, forgive me if I butcher anybody's names. I am not the best with names, as I always say, but I find them important, so I try to get them as most accurate as possible because I feel names are important. Um, Moving over, we have January 29th, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, starring Hudson Thames as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, the voice, Coleman Domingo, the voice of Norman Osborn, and Carrie Walgreen, as the voice of Aunt May, amongst plenty of other people. Looking forward to that one myself as a, superhero Marvel buff, comic book guy. You already know the drill. Moving over, February 6th, we got Invincible Season 3 starring Stephen Ewan as the voice of Mark Grayson Invincible, J.K. Simmons as the voice of Omni-Man, and Sandra Oh as the voice of Debbie Grayson. I actually read all of the Invincible comics from when it dropped Season 2. After I finished watching all of Season 2, before this came out, I was like, I need to read all of them. So I love it. It's one of my favorite comic book stories ever. Can't wait for it. Moving right along, though, we have February 20th, Reacher Season 3 starring Alan Ritchson and Mariah Sten. That's on Amazon Prime. By the way, Invincible will be also on the Amazon Prime. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man will be on Disney+. Severance will be on Apple TV. Moving right along after Reacher, we have Daredevil Born Again, which we actually just got the trailer for today. Coming March 4th, starring Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, Daredevil, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, Deborah Ann Wall coming back as Karen, John Bernthal coming back as Frank Castle, Punisher, Eldon Henson coming back as Foggy Nelson, and Wilson Bethel as Bullseye, with Muse also appearing, the character Muse. Super, super excited for this. I have a theory that I would like to do a separate video on that an episode on that I'm going to do. So probably more of a video aspect on the social media. So y'all stay tuned for that. But looking forward to this. Super, super excited for Daredevil Born Again. Moving along, April 22nd, slated is Andor Season 2, starring Diego Luna as Cassian Andor. Looking forward to Andor to see how they kind of do Andor Season 2 and leading it into Rogue One. I am one of those guys. I'm not the craziest big fan of Andor. I think it's great. I think it's solid. I'm just not one of those, oh, it's the best thing Star Wars Disney has ever done. I'm a big Star Wars Disney guy anyway, or just Star Wars in general. So I love all of the Star Wars, and Andor is no exception. I love Andor, and I don't think it's better or less than any specific shows that people compare it to, if that makes sense. Moving along, now I am more so in the it's not having a date, but it's slated around this time area, and that is in April. We have The Last of Us Season 2 starring Pedro Pascal as Joel and Bella Ramsey as Ellie. There's been a lot of conversation lately with Season 2 and the way with the casting of Ellie. I'm not for that. I respect everybody's craft, including these actors and actresses, so I would never say somebody's a miscast. And I really enjoyed Bella Ramsey, but I also did not play the Last of Us game, so take that, my opinion, with a grain of salt. Next up, coming also in April, an anime feast, as I would like to say. We got My Hero Academia Vigilantes, Fire Force Season 3, and Windbreaker Season 2, all slated for April. I am super excited for Fire Force Season 3. I have read all of them Fire Force manga. One of my favorites all time. Maybe like top 10-ish, 15, something like that. But I love it. I love it so much, and I'm super hyped to finally have this anime back after so long. And then My Hero is just great to continue on learning more about that world or that history of My Hero. And then, of course, Windbreaker Season 2. I'm hype about that. It's a fresh anime for me, nothing with prior knowledge besides the Season 1, so ready to dive into it. Moving over, in July, we have another 2 great seasons of anime, and that is Kaiju number 8 Season 2, one of my favorite mangas and animes. Right now, I am currently all caught up with the manga and can't wait till every, 2 or 3 weeks that the chapters drop. And the next one is Dan to Dan Season 2, which I just recently Told you guys I caught all up with. Loving that anime. I even tapped into the manga a little bit afterwards. Not too far, maybe like a chapter or two after. So nothing crazy, but I'm loving it and love that damn theme song, man. Moving over, we got next our actual dates again, and that is June 24th. I have Ironheart starring Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams, or Ironheart, and Anthony Ramos as the Hood. I'm looking forward to this as a comic book reader myself. You guys know Marvel buff, MCU fan, and I think Dominique Thorne was a really good casting, and just a great character in Wakanda Forever, as Riri Williams. So I'm looking forward to seeing an Ironheart show. That I think it was a little early, kinda in the MCU world, but at the same time, no. Like I think Ironheart is a great character to kind of bring in, after, especially after Iron Man being gone. Would I like to see Robert Downey Jr. as an AI in her head, or like as her Jarvis type stuff, or like as her Friday? Absolutely. Will we get it? Probably not, but I'm all for it. And then Anthony Ramos is just great, so him as the Hood. Can't wait to see them dive more into the supernatural side of the MCU, and the Marvel stuff. So looking forward to that. Continuing on kind of with Marvel and the MCU though, from Marvel's animation side, August 6th, we actually have Eyes of Wakanda, with a plethora, I mean a great cast for voice acting. But I'm gonna just name a few, and that is Danea Guerrera, who is, you guys know, Okoye. We have Cress Williams, and Winnie Harlow, who I actually don't think is ever been in a voice role, like voice acting role before. I could be wrong, but I'm not familiar with it. So great cast overall, all around. Can't wait to see them August 6th. And now another slate for August, no date. And that's moving over to the DCU. You already know. You guys know that I'm big excited for the DCU, so I wanted to talk about that. But that is August, coming, and that is Peacemaker Season 2, starring John Cena as Peacemaker, Freddie Stroma as Vigilante, Danielle Brooks as Adebayo, Jennifer Holland, actually James Gunn's wife, as Agent Hardcore, and Steve Agee as John Economos. This will be very fresh, seeing as Season 1 was a part of the DCEU, and Season 2 is going to be a part of DCU. So, can't really, honestly, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. And John Cena as Peacemaker is just a good time. Moving over, we have the summer, no month or no date or anything like that, but in the summer, we have Alien Earth, starring Sidney Chandler, Alex Lothar, and Timothy Olyphant. I just actually watched all of the Alien movies, with my lady, and we are fascinated by them. Like, they're just fun, good times, man. Like, we like horror stuff, sci-fi, weird, freaky stuff, and that's exactly what it is. So we just watched it, like I said, when Romulus was put on streaming services, and we watched all of them to kind of like get geared up for Romulus, and so we're looking forward. I know we're both looking forward to this summer for Alien Earth. In October, going back to some, Marvel MCU stuff. We actually got good vibes here for the Halloween vibes, I guess. And that is Marvel Zombies with Florence Pugh, as Yelena Belova, Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, and Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch, amongst a plethora of characters coming back for their voice acting roles for this animation for Marvel Zombies. So this will be a fun thing. I'm pretty sure it takes place from that What If story, or what happened in What If, in that episode of What If. So I'm thinking that Marvel Zombies kind of takes off from there. But we'll see. That's just me theorizing. In the fall, we have no date again, not even a month, but the fall. We have My Hero Academia Season 8, the final season. I am not a manga reader for My Hero. I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait and see how the anime all plays out. I've gotten spoiled because of, social medias and things like that, but I want to see certain things that I don't know play out. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. Coming December, we have Wonder Man starring Yaha Abdul Mateen II, playing Simon Williams, or Wonder Man himself, and Ben Kingsley as Trevor, reprising his role as Trevor from Shang-Chi. Looking forward to how they do Wonder Man. Apparently, it's very similar. I've seen some recent news today that it's very similar to She-Hulk. So we'll see. It filmed and it looked like the way it was visually shot looked great. So I'm excited for that. And then we got no date at all for these. So just no date, but they're coming next year. That is Squid Game Season 3, starring Lee Jung-chae as Ji-hun and Lee Byung-hun as the frontman. I'm looking forward. I think they said this was the final season of Squid Games. Honestly, I feel like this can go on forever, gang. I ain't gonna lie to you. I feel like it could go on literally forever. But who am I? Who knows? I love it. I'm looking forward to see how they play it out though. Moving over to oh, I guess I should have been talking about where all of these things are all streaming on. So let's backtrack a little bit real quick before we move on. So I finished at Reacher. Daredevil Born Again is gonna be on again March 4th. It will be on Disney Plus. April 22nd, Disney Plus for Andor season 2. April is gonna be Last of Us, that is on Max. All anime stuff that I've mentioned is on Crunchyroll, unless I say otherwise. Ironheart, Disney Plus, as well as Eyes of Wakanda. The Peacemaker Season 2 will be on Max. Alien Earth, I believe they said will be on Hulu. Marvel Zombies, again, all Marvel stuff is on Disney Plus, by the way. Just because Disney owns Marvel. My Hero, again, Crunchyroll. Wonder Man is Disney Plus. Squid Games, Netflix. And now we're getting to where we were just caught up at. So next is A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, starring Finn Bennett, Bertie Carvel, and Sam Spruell. I have no idea what this show is about. I am not a books Game of Thrones person. I have only watched all of the show and House of the Dragon as well. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Diving more into the world of Game of Thrones. I love it. Moving over, that will be on Max. Moving over to a Disney Plus series. Something I'm really anticipating that I've read all of the books except the latest one. And that is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, starring Walker Scobell as Percy, Leah Sava Jeffries as Annabeth, and Arian Simhadri as Grover. Love the first episode, love the first season. Love the characters. It's really a great coming of age story. And just mythology. I love mythology, as I've always like to advocate for. I love mythology. It's such a fun time. Such a fun mythos lore thing. So looking forward to that. Netflix is finally giving us Stranger Things season 5 this year, 2025. That's what they say, man. I feel like they've been telling us this they just been giving us different, I don't know. I'm just so with Stranger Things, I'm like, bruh. But it is coming this year, starring Millie Bobby Brown as Elle, Finn Wolfhard, and Winona Ryder. Don't have a date, but it's coming. Same thing from Netflix is coming, and that is Wednesday season 2, starring Jenna Ortega as Wednesday. Looking forward to that. I watched all of that with my lady and my mom actually Wednesday, so I'm pretty sure we'll probably do that again. We'll probably watch that with my mom's. I don't have many shows that I watch with my mom, like go to my mom's house and watch them. So there's certain ones that I do want to like hold off and watch with her, and that'll probably be one of them. One Punch Man for my final show that I want to mention. Started with the shows, like I said, is One Punch Man season 3. I think that is going to be on Hulu and Crunchyroll, maybe just Hulu. They might have the exclusive rights, but One Punch Man season 3. I am not a manga reader as well for One Punch Man, so I can't wait to see what they do with that and how they dive like deep into One Punch Man. Because I heard it gets crazy. My cousin is a big reader, and I'm looking forward to it. But that is all I got for the TV shows that I am most anticipating for 2025. I know that it was a lot, but now you got to bear with me because we got some movies we got to tap into. You guys already know as well. As you've seen, I just combined the TV shows, live action and anime. That's probably what I'm going to start doing most of the time just because it feels, anime is TV at the end of the day. So, but moving along, we're going to start with the movies now. And that is going to be, again, in chronological or release order for the year. So starting with February 7th, we have Love Hurts starring Ki Hyun Kwan and Ariana DeBose. I just see like it looks like a good time, look like a good Valentine's Day action movie to me. So I can't wait. The big, you already know, Marvel headed me, the big superhero guy comic book guy is ecstatic for February 14th, Valentine's Day, because that is Captain America Brave New World. I'm probably gonna have to go see it the night before Valentine's Day, cause ain't no way my lady is trying to spend Valentine's Day at a Marvel movie. Unless she's gonna make that my gift. I'm gonna be real with you. You feel me? So let's be honest. Who's gonna want to spend their day at a Marvel movie with their lady for Valentine's Day type stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm probably gonna see it the day before. But Captain America Brave New World, starring Anthony Mackie as Captain America, Sam Wilson, Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross, Red Hulk, Danny Ramirez as the Falcon, Tim Blake Nelson as the leader, Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley, and Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder, just to name a few of the characters and actors that I am ecstatic to see. Can't wait. Don't have much more to say until the time comes. April 18th, we got a fresh movie I'm looking forward to, and that is Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, and Jack O'Connell. Ryan Coogler don't miss when it comes to movies, y'all, so I'm in there. I'm just letting y'all know. Sinners, a vampire-themed type movie. I'm in there. I cannot wait. May 2nd, back to the Marvel slates, you already know, is Thunderbolts, asterisk, because that might change in the title. Theories are floating on the internet. I got theories of my own, you already know, but yes, Thunderbolts is coming May 2nd. And I always like to joke that Marvel does something for my birthday in May. They always, for the most part, drop a movie in May, and I always love it because it's like, yeah, they did that just for me, you know what I mean? But Thunderbolts, starring Sebastian Stan as Bucky Winter Soldier, Florence Pugh as Black Widow, Yelena Belova, David Harbour as Red Guardian, Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent, Olga Kurylenko as Taskmaster, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, and Louis Pullman as Bob Sentry. This cast is honestly amazing. It's so fun. And their characters from all the different Marvel projects, MCU projects. I just cannot wait to see how they do this, man. It's gonna be a good time. And I think I could possibly take my moms to see this show, because Julia Louis-Dreyfus is one of her favorite actresses. So, like, this might be a really good time. May 23rd, My Childhood is being brought to live action, and that is Lilo and Stitch, starring Maya Kealoha and Sydney Agudong. Maya as Lilo and Sydney as Nani. I'm excited for this, man. Lilo and Stitch was actually the first movie I remember my pops taking me to, so it does kind of have like a meaningful place to me. I love Stitch, man. I'm just a big Stitch guy. I'll be real with you. That's really all I can say. Lilo and Stitch, May 23rd. And my birthday's the 22nd, so it's the day before. So Disney gave me 2 things for the birthday. You feel me? They blessed me. June 6th, we have Ballerina, which is the John Wick-like-esque prequel type thing, starring Ana de Armas, Keanu Reeves, and Catalina Sandino Moreno. I'm excited, bro. Me and my mom, that's another thing me and my moms watch all of together, is the John Wick movies. So I'll probably take her to see this, as well as I've taken her to see the last few. Or I think we've seen all of the other ones during COVID, the first 2 or 3, and then we watched the 4th one in theaters. But regardless, gonna be seeing this one with my mom June 6th. June 13th, we got 2 movies, so I'll probably be doing a double feature with my lady. Really Disney kid type friendly, or animation type-esque friendly. With Elio, starring Jonas Kibreb, Zoe Saldana, and Brad Garrett. Really good family movie that's about a kid that apparently is taken to space he's abducted by aliens because they think he's the leader of the Earth. And then the other double feature movie on June 13th is a live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon, starring Mason Thames, Nico Parker, and Gerard Butler reprising his role as the Pops. Man, I am a big How to Train Your Dragon fan, dog. Like, I remember watching the first one when I was either in high school or I just graduated high school, and I was chilling with all my friends from school. We were all all the same graduating class and stuff. So I just remember watching it. We had a night at one of their crib, and we all had a sleepover type thing. It was a vibe, bro. It was a vibe. It was fun. Can't wait for this live action remake. Um, June 20th, I'm gonna have to do my research on this one because it looks good. But that is 28 years later, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson and Ralph Fiennes. I have no idea about the 28 franchise because I've never seen any of them. So that's what I say. I have to do my research. It's pretty much just watch the others. July 2nd, Jurassic World Rebirth, directed by Gareth Edwards, starring Jonathan Bailey, Scarlett Johansson, and Ed Skrein. Man, big dinosaurs. It's dinosaurs. You never gonna go wrong. But that franchise is never gonna go wrong with dinosaurs. They could give me a bunch of different remakes. I don't care. And they got Gareth Edwards. Bro, I love Gareth Edwards directing, man. That's just, I'm excited, bro. I know the visuals in that joint is gonna be peak. Um, July 8th, y'all. We got it. You already know. We finally got the trailer not too long ago. I am ecstatic for the live action start of the DCU, and that is Superman starring David Corenswet, as Clark Kent Superman, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner Green Lantern, Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, Edie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. It's a bunch of people, bro. Maria Gabriela de Ferreira as the engineer, Anthony Kerrigan as Metamorpho, Skylar Giosando as Jimmy Olsen, Sean Gunn as Maxwell Lord, and last but not least, Wendell Pierce as Perry White. Woo! What a cast that I am super excited for. Superman, if I had to pick, is probably top 5, top 3, whatever, top 2 most anticipated projects of 2025. I am so hyped. And I'm not the craziest Superman fan, but we all need some hope and optimism in this day and age, and I cannot wait. I'm a big James Gunn fan, and that's all you need to know. I cannot wait. More superhero stuff, and that is July 25th with the Fantastic Four First Steps, starring Vanessa Kirby as the Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, Ebon Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm, the Thing, Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Julia Garner as Shalabal, the Silver Surfer, and Ralph Ensign as Galactus. That is another most anticipated project of 2025. I can't pick between what's number one between Superman and the Fantastic Four. I am so excited for this, y'all. And moving along, we have August 8th, and that is Freakier Friday, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Lindsay Lohan, and Chad Michael Murray. Oh man, I just gonna think it's gonna be a good time. Not everything needs a sequel, but when they decide to make one, as long as it's a fun time, I'm good. I'm in there. Speaking of sequels, October 24th, we are slated for Mortal Kombat 2, starring Louis Tan, Hiroyuki Sanada, and Carl Urban. I'm intrigued, man. I just need some great action and story, like the first one. I appreciated the first one. I know everybody was a little iffy on it, but I liked it. Especially, it was a fresh time during COVID, so I can't wait to see what they do with this one. I want to say this next one here, coming November 7th, is probably up there in my top 10-ish most anticipated movies of this year. And that is Predator Badlands, starring Elle Fanning. I really loved what they did with Prey on Hulu, the last Predator movie, and I'm just a big Predator guy. I've been reading a lot of the comic books of Predator versus whichever Marvel character. So I've been appreciating that. Can't wait for the next one, and looking forward towards this Predator Badlands November 7th. Moving over towards back to Disney, I would say, is November 26th, and that is Zootopia 2, starring Jason Bateman, Jennifer Goodwin, and Idris Elba. Look, man, I'm excited for this. Zootopia, I feel like it's such a good Disney movie, so I can't really wait to see how they dive back into that world. Anytime Disney makes a sequel to one of their animated projects, like I said, as long as you make me laugh and it's a good time, I'm in there. Um, Speaking of another sequel, I guess this would be a trequel. I don't really know the trilogy. And that is December 19th, Avatar: Fire and Ash, starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, and Kate Winslet. We just got our first look at like the overarching antagonist, as well as some more just concept art that we've seen in artwork. So can't wait for that. I would say I think Avatar is probably up there in my top five, like most anticipated of this year, because my lady's a big Avatar fan. I just finished playing the whole video game, Frontiers on Pandora. I have the comics that I need to read, like a side part of Frontiers of Pandora. So can't wait to dive back into that. And then, team, I got my last movie here for y'all, and that is no date, no slated. It just says it. It's coming from Netflix. Wake Up a Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, directed by Rian Johnson, starring Daniel Craig, Kaylee Spaney, and Kerry Washington. Look, man, I'm excited to see how they do a another Knives Out story. Like, I love Knives Out these past two, so for me, anytime Rian decides to do it, I'm in there. And personally, I think Rihan's a great director, so I hate when people knock him for Star Wars stuff. That's neither here nor there, but I can't wait. And that really concludes this portion of my most anticipated TV and movies of 2025. So next up is my most anticipated video games. So let's talk about them. Thankfully, there's not a lot of games, or I should say, as many games as there are TV and movies. But there is a good few, a good bunch, and so we're gonna go through them. I'll talk about my most anticipated for this year. I don't have many with dates, more just slated, but I do have a good select few with dates, so I'll start with those. My most anticipated game, I'll tell you right here, no list, but this is the number one, and that is February 28th. Monster Hunter Wilds. I am a hunter, y'all. Like, I'm gonna get a Monster Hunter tattoo. Like, I love Monster Hunter to the point it took, I think it's the most game I've ever played, like, hours-wise on a game. I think I had over 1,000, it was like 1,100 hours in Monster Hunter World. And that was the first Monster Hunter I ever played. And so this is kind of just expanding that type of game, and I can't wait. My cousin played the beta. I got to see it at New York Comic Con, so I cannot wait for this game. It is my number one most anticipated. And it's just right around the corner next month, so can't wait. Moving over, we just got this pushed back, but that is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Kind of hurt that it got pushed back, but I'm all about respecting the developers and what they need to make this game the best it can be. So I can't wait. You know, it's been a lot of toxicity with the racist and misogynistic people online because of a lady ninja and Yasuki based off of history as a black samurai. So I hate that because I'm ecstatic for this game. I mean, I can't wait. So we'll see, bruh. We'll see. Can't wait to see how they navigate through all of the hate and the toxicity, but how they develop this game and kind of like give us I think it's going to be a refreshing and return to form for Assassin's Creed. Moving over for a rumored kind of release date, still slated for this year, but it's rumored to be August 15th, and that is Pokemon Legends Zeta A. Not too much information to go based off of this game. I just am a Pokemon guy, and I need more Nintendo Switch games, so anytime they put out a Pokemon game, it's mine. Like, I buy it. Next up, these are now the games I do not have a date for, but I'm ecstatic for them to drop whenever they do give us information coming this year. They are slated for this year, and you know with games, we never really know if they're dropping this year or not, but this is what is slated. So Ghost of Yotai from PlayStation, Sony, Sucker Punch is the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. I am looking forward to this. We are playing with a brand new character. It is not Jin Sakai. So I can't really say I have a basis of it or what I'm looking forward to. I just love the gameplay and the visuals as well as the story of Ghost of Tsushima. And so a sequel to it, I can only imagine how great it's going to be. And I would say this is one of my top 3 or 5 most anticipated games for real of 2025. Moving over to another Sony masterpiece, a lot of people would say, and that is Death Stranding 2 on the beach. A lot of people, it's either you're hit or miss with Death Stranding. You either absolutely are in love with it or you despise it. It's really no in between. I am one of those people. I love it. The gameplay mechanics, I think those mechanics need to be like evolved into other games or adapted into other games moving forward. Those mechanics were ahead of their time, especially with the PlayStation 5 and the haptic feedback and all of that ahead of its time, y'all. Um, Moving over to the Xbox, I actually do not own an Xbox, but I would probably buy it just for this, and that's Fable. I don't know anything about Fable other than I remember playing a little bit when I was a kid. Like you remember back in the day when the Walmarts and stuff used to have in the store, you could play the demos of games. That's what I remember playing of Fable, and I always wanted to dive deeper into it, but I never did. And so this will be as my chance as an adult to finally dive into it. And I'll buy an Xbox for it, man. They're saying Halo is gonna come to the PlayStation. Who knows? But if it doesn't, I got Halo again. So we in there. Um, a lot of Marvel content, man. You guys know Marvel taking over the world at this point. But that is Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, where you get to play as Captain America and a World War II soldier, and the Black Panther, Azuri, who is T'Challa's grandfather, and I think Dora Milaje warrior, like a Wakandan spy or something like that. So you get to play as these 4 characters in this world. The trailer that they put out and all of that looked absolutely insane. I mean, it was a video game and it looked like cinematic. So I can't wait to see what the gameplay looks like and really what they do with it. You know, like the story and how it just plays overall. That would probably be in my top like 5-ish most anticipated games. Moving over to Nintendo, back to Nintendo, and that is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I am a big Metroid guy. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, I've always played all the Metroids that they drop, from the 2Ds to the Metroid Prime 3Ds. The last one we got was like I think on the Wii, if I can remember correctly. And so this is gonna be really fresh and really feel like we're back in the Metroid, and we need that. Nintendo needs more games like this. I feel like they need more of this. Is what I think Nintendo needs personally. Um, we talked about Dune about it last returning last week with Dune Prophecy, but video game wise, they're actually making a Dune game called Dune Awakening, and that's fire to me. Open world. You're on Arrakis, I think. So or what is it? The planet Dune, what it used to be called was Dune. You're on that planet. That's gonna be insane to me, bro. Because thinking about how vast that planet is, open, then with the worms and man, I can't wait. It's like supposed to be a survival type game. So we'll see. As soon as you get me, I'm an open world gamer guy. So like as soon as they say open world and you do shit, I'm in there. And speaking of open world, I mean, what is more open than GTA? Grand Theft Auto 6 is finally coming 2025, man. We are we are returning back to Vice City, I believe it is, Miami, something like that. And I'm not the biggest GTA guy. Like I think the last Grand Theft Auto I played was like San Andreas, and I played 4 at like friends' house and stuff like that. Was it 4 or 5? I don't know. I played one of them at a friend's house, but I just never dived into it, and I felt like by the time I could, it was way too late that I might as well just wait for this. So that's why I'm kind of excited and most anticipating this because I mean I finally get to play GTA with my friends. You know what I mean? So it'll be a good time. A franchise that I feel like is kind of been lost in recent years, right? And that is Terminators. Terminator Survivors Terminator Survivors is the name of the game. It's supposed to be coming this year. I think they said it's supposed to be like again a survival type game in the Terminator world. That's kind of fire to me. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's kind of crazy. So we'll see how that goes. Uh, we are finally getting a remake or fresh take of the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. So it basically is a remake, remastered with better graphics. I always forget what the difference is between a remake and a remaster, but they feel like the same thing. You know what I mean? To me, at least. But we're getting one for the Metal Gear Solid Delta, and I never got to play those games growing up. So my mom was like, "Yeah, you not that's not for you." So I'm kind of excited to play those. Finally play it now as a kid, or excuse me, as an adult now. Since I never got to as a kid. And last but not least, y'all, talked about getting an Xbox. This would be another reason why I'm gonna get an Xbox. Most anticipated. I want to say this might be in my top five also, so I could probably name 4 or 5 already that are in there. But that is Gears of War E-Day. This is a prequel. This is like literally the day of when all of the locusts and everything come out. Used to love Gears of War as a kid. Me and my right hand mans would play all the time. He was a big Gears of War guy, like to the point where he was playing with the pros. So I know he's excited for Gears of War E-Day. And that is my last, like I said, but not least, most anticipated game of 2025. So I want to get into our last segment of the pod today before we head out. And that is my most anticipated comics. So let's dive into those next. Now, with comic books, I really only have a handful just because comic book solicits only drop or really only drop like every 3 months. Lucky 4 if we're lucky in advance. So we only get those, or we only know about new comics coming like early enough, like 3 months or 4 months in advance. So that's kind of the only reason I have a handful. But I'll tell you my most anticipated of what we know of for 2025. So right now, we have one that just dropped between last week and this week, and that is Ultimate Wolverine. It is finally here. Probably my most anticipated comic of 2025, if I'm being honest with you. It is written by Chris Condone. The art is by Alessandro Capucci. It is colored by Brian Valenza, and it is lettered by Corey Petit. Uh, I haven't got a chance to read it yet. It is out. I haven't, like I said, got a chance to read it. I'm gonna probably read it later on today. So I cannot wait to dive into it. But that was my honest, most anticipated comic of this year. I do have a few more, so I want to talk about those in chronological order, just as we've been doing everything. February 5th, which is right around the corner, is Power Man Timeless, written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, the dynamic duo, as I would call them, and with art by Bernard Chang. This is takes off of Timeless from like I think last year in Marvel Comics. They are taking this story from Timeless, which was like the future of Marvel Comics, and they're taking Luke Cage, who is obviously Power Man, but he has the powers of the Incredible Hulk, Iron Fist, and Sentry, and he's in the future, older guy, and he gets transported to the current Marvel 616 timeline. So I'm intrigued to see how they do that and where that goes. March 19th, we are diving over to DC and more into the Absolute Universe, and that is Absolute Flash, written by Jeff Lemire. The art is by Nick Robles, and it is colored by Adriano Lucas. I'm a big Flash fan, so I kind of, just in general, I love the DC's Absolute Universe, but Flash specifically, I'm excited to see how they tackle that. Especially they're saying he has no Speed Force, so I'm excited to see how they tackle that. Not too long after that, in March, we have March 26th, Absolute Martian Manhunter, written by Dennis Camp. The art is by Javier Rodriguez, and it is lettered by Hassan Otsmane El-Ho. This is supposed to be like a psychological thriller, and Dennis Camp is a great writer, so I feel like this is gonna hit differently from what most like comic books from the big two are doing right now. And then last but not least, for my handful of comic books that I'm anticipating of 2025, and that is April 2nd, we have Absolute Green Lantern from one of my favorite comic book writers. It is written by Al Ewing, man. There's been a meme going along around the internet that says, if nobody got me, Al Ewing got me. Like, that's how I feel, bro, when it comes to comic books. And the art is by Johnny Lindsay. So that is my handful of like most anticipated comics from 2025. And that really brings us to the end of what I'm anticipating the most of 2025. But our discussion is not over. We are here to talk about Creature Commandos as well. So let's dive back into our TV and movies section to talk about a very special television show. So now that we got the best of 2024 and what I'm most anticipating out of 2025 out of the way, we're going to get into what this podcast is really all about, what the Jam Pod is here for, and that is to journey across media. We're going to have a conversation about Creature Commandos. I know I said earlier that Superman is the first start of the DCU, and I did say it was live action. Well, Creature Commandos is the actual start of the DCU with this animated project. It is like the intro to the DCU. The way I like to look at it as a comic book, as a comic fan, is not that it is issue 1, but more so like issue 0, or like a prelude of what's to come from the DCU. Now I know James Gunn, and they've mentioned over there at DC that the DCU is not going to be just some project or overall extensive story that each project leads up or builds up into the next thing. So this is its own project, right? And we're going to judge it as itself. But that's just the way I personally like to look at it, is because I know of a lot of people have made arguments that they shouldn't have essentially started the DCU with an animated project. But I mean, I grew up on cartoons. Personally, I don't care about none of that. I love this project. So let's dive into it. The first thing I want to say is the animation. I think the animation was fun. It kind of felt like an Adult Swim cartoon. Something with a great story, something that they continued like diving deep into, like just the actual animation itself. Like I felt like gory and colorful and real like to the point where they, I don't know, like played with it a little bit, like with the water. It felt watercolory and I don't know, just a real funny, goofy cartoon, but at the same time gory and bloody. That's why I said it felt like an Adult Swim animated cartoon. And I know this was done by, I think, the animation studio, like actually from Max, if I'm not mistaken, or from like the partnership Warner Brothers has. I could be wrong, but I don't know. The animation just felt a lot like Adult Swim cartoon. It almost felt like the My Adventures of Superman cartoon, like just more gory because it's obviously like a TVMA type thing. But I mentioned the plot, and I feel like the animation and the plot kind of go hand in hand, right? Because you can't tell, or you can't have all of these gory images or all of this graphic stuff without having a very darker or more adult like story. And I think that's what this was. It was a lot of different aspects of a story kind of tying together that you can't really have with kids around, right? Like, I mean, you got Frankenstein chasing and basically stalking the bride. You got like manipulation, you got sexual coercion and sexual manipulation. I mean, you got like all of these different tie-ins to the story, but the main overarching story itself, just the Creature Commandos going on this mission to protect the princess. And then, spoiler alert for those that are here, we are going to have some spoilers, go to protect the princess, to then having to kill the princess. And then that's the story itself, is like you create this team of monsters that needs to protect the princess and stop Cersei, this Wonder Woman villain, who then shows to the Creature Commandos, hey, this girl is actually going to destroy the world if we don't stop her. And now it's a mission of, all right, we actually have to kill the princess. And they got like that, like that's just the plot. And it sounds surface level, but it's so complex with the way there's a lot of twists and turns and drama and emotional connections and relationships and dynamics, and it's just such a great story, and it's such a fun story, I think, too. Like the humor, the comedy behind it is really what makes this story also like feel fun. Like we have a darker, sadder story, and James Gunn even said this was one of the, or if not the saddest thing he's written, and yet it's still goofy, it's still fun, it's still a good time. The pacing was also really great. I think of it as like a Arrow or CW type situation where they're having the present time episode play out, but then they're giving us flashbacks, and I loved it because the flashbacks was each character's like backstory or how or origin story or how they became to the situation that they were in under Amanda Waller's control with like under this Reacher Commandos organization under the government basically, and they're under Amanda Waller's control. And I think that was really cool how they paced it. Each episode was paced. I think the only episode I felt like I was like, did we really need this episode? Which was hilarious enough. It wasn't the backstory part of the episode. It was the present times of the episode. And I think that was the second to last with Dr. Phosphorus's backstory. I felt like the episode was more character interactions with, Weasel out with the wolves and the bride and Nina in the brothel. Like I felt like I was just like, all right, like these are more character interactions. We're not like really moving forward or developing much with the characters. And maybe I guess in a way we did because we developed Nina and the bride's friendship. But I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't as needed. It felt like filler almost to me. That's just my personal opinion. Otherwise, pacing wise, thought it was phenomenal. But I mentioned the plot and I talked about the writing and like the comedy and stuff like that. But like there is a lot of emotional ties. Again, James Gunn mentioning this is the saddest thing he's ever written. The emotional moments and the writing in this, I think people talk about James Gunn being a one-trick pony where it's just all of the same, like misfits coming into a group or whatever. And well, that to me is very surface level because there's so many different aspects of James Gunn's writing when it comes to these characters. I mean, with Rocket and animal abuse, right? Like Quill and emotional neglect from your family and like being from his mother and his father and Earth, right? And then dealing with it again in Yondu. To then the creature Commandos. I mentioned the bride dealing with like basically her stalker, which is Frankenstein, or her being manipulated by her freaking father and had to in a sexual ways, right? Like there's just so many different like layers to James Gunn's writing that I think if you look at it at a surface level, sure, yeah, it's a bunch of misfit characters coming together, but that's again to me very surface level. So I thought the writing on an emotional level was just great with all of these different characters, especially Nina. Like in the finale, we seeing how Nina was treated just because of her, abnormalities and her mom neglecting her, like things like that. Like it really is kind of one of the saddest things like James Gunn's written. Um, but yeah, man, those emotion, like just the writing itself. I think this was some of also James Gunn like best writing, and maybe that's coming from a biased point of view because it's fresh, it's new, it's like a recency bias type thing, as well as I mean, quite frankly, it is in a sense like new, not just this is brand new, but it's the DCU, the beginning of the DCU as well. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I thought it was written really, really well. But speaking of the beginning of the DCU, it also world builds so well. I mean, the introduction with Cersei and Themyscira and them existing, that means Wonder Woman already exists. And like, I mean, we know the characters in this world. They've said that we're getting thrown into this world, but like seeing how it's all just laid out to, Clayface and seeing Batman portrayed. We don't even have a live action Batman yet, right? But we got to see him in it. We got to see a little bit of Wonder Woman and like just things like the world building around the DCU in this animated series was fantastic. And then even though they got a season two, I think they got a season two like right before the finale or right after the finale, something like that. But it is getting a season two, which we'll talk about a little bit afterwards. But it was a complete story. Like it felt full and full from episode one to the finale. It felt like a full series. That didn't, even if you didn't have a season 2. It didn't need anything else, like, or doesn't, not that it doesn't need anything, but like it doesn't lead up into anything, right? And I still feel like with it being a complete story, it's set up for maybe stuff in Superman, which we'll get into. But it was a complete story. My favorite episode out of all of this was the episode 3, Cheers to the Tin Man, which coincidentally, the Tin Man, the GI robot, is my favorite character, along with Rick Flag Sr. But I felt like Rick Flag Sr. was like the secondary, like the duotagonist. Like he was kind of like the secondary protagonist. So that's maybe kind of biased. But yeah, for me, GI Robot was my favorite character. I just loved the bit with him and Nazis. It was perfect, and it was great to have him in the beginning of the series. And I think his, like I said, episode 3 was my favorite. But my favorite character moments and like interactions was probably between Rick Flag Sr. and Frankenstein. I thought it was so hilarious, at the same time so sad. Like it was just such a wild ride between them two, those few episodes. It was a good time. Like it was just a good time. Um, I just want more of them. Like I ain't gonna lie to you, I feel like I would want more of those two together. Overall, if I had to give this a review, I'm gonna change my review pages to now like being like out of 5, like type stuff, because that's what Letterbox does, right? But for me, this was a 4.5 out of 5. The only thing that's stopping it from being a perfect 5 out of 5 for me was that fillery episode with the pacing. And I think it was the second, like I said, the second to last episode. I enjoyed the episode and I thought it was phenomenal. Just for me was like didn't feel needed. You know what I mean? But overall, I think this was a fantastic series. Like one of my favorite animated things of 2024 leading into this year, right? I guess you could say it was 2024 because it was only one episode in 2025. But yes, 4.5 out of 5 for me, damn near perfect. There was a couple, like I said, that one episode, maybe the animation could have been a little bit like crazier. I thought it was fun. I thought it was, but it felt like Adult Swim, so I felt like that kind of pulled it for me. But overall, 4.5 out of 5, man. Can't go wrong with that type of score. And what I really think is gonna come from season 2 is stuff that we've seen a little bit in comics. Now, I'm not a Creature Commandos or like Agents of Frankenstein, like any Frankenstein type comic book guy. So I don't really know much, but what I will say is I know I've seen some things online and people talk about things like that, and one of them was the in the post credit scene or in the ends credit scene we see the bride get her new team essentially of the Creature Commandos, and one of them was like a mummy, and in the comics that mummy brings Nina back to life and she can breathe on land and in water. And then I think the only other thing that I would be honest with y'all is theorize is that it's gonna have more to do with like Frankenstein stuff in the comics. I have a good buddy of mine, Dead. You guys know Dead from the alternate timeline, and he made which I'll have him on an episode sooner rather than later. But he made a comment to me that he wants there to have like character progression for my guy Frankenstein to see how he turns into his comic book character, and we'll see. We'll see if that how it plays out. But that's what I believe is we'll get more of season 2. I think that's my only theory is that maybe that mummy brings back Nina to life. And the only reason I'm a little concerned with that is I don't want it to undermine her death in this season finale. So we'll see with that. And then, like my guy Dead said, maybe we'll see more of Frankenstein transition into his comic book character. But that really is our conversation regarding Creature Commandos. I loved it. It was fantastic. Great start to the DCU. I'm excited to be here. Can't wait for Superman. Like I told you guys, it's probably between that and Fantastic Four is my favorite or most anticipated movie this year. So, guys, be prepared for those two. Be prepared for more of Creature Commandos when it comes back. And let's talk about what we will be talking about next week. So as I said, y'all, we basically got those first 2 episodes out of the way with what I wanted from, like I said, the best of 2024 and what I was most anticipating this year. So we kind of got back with it and what this podcast is all about, journeying across media with Creature Commandos, and we will continue to do so next week. We'll get back on track with comic books, pretty much talking about what's coming out weekly and what's like the hype in comic book section as far as what I'm reading. But the main conversation of next week, or the main two topics that we'll be talking about next week, will be Skeleton Crew, because that from Star Wars, because that just ended. That really just finished like this week. And I didn't get to talk about that because this was already a packed episode. So we'll be saving that for next week, as well as the second topic, which will be finishing in the next few days, the finale, and that is Silo Season 2. So those will be my big two topics next week, which is Skeleton Crew from Star Wars and Silo Season 2, as well as, like I said, diving into my weekly comics. That is your man's Jam here on the JAMPOD. Appreciate everybody tapping in. Y'all make sure to show some love, and I will see you guys next week on the next episode. Be easy. Much love.